I do believe that most of the things that are best for you are boring. But if you do them and you discipline yourself to do them, your life will be better. And I just don't believe in this fluffy fairy tale land where you're going to wake up and want to read.
That's the hard thing, though, is if it takes us getting to the stage where the pain is great enough for us to do something different, the problem is you're not going to see any results for several months after, or years, or however long until after you get the pain, get the new awareness, and then eventually you get results. So I would say do it as soon as you can. Next Level Nation, welcome back to another episode of Next Level University, where we help you level up your life, your love, your health, and your wealth. We hope you enjoyed, as Alan gulps his drink audibly, we hope you enjoyed yesterday's episode number 1694, What If You Don't Actually Want What You Think You Want? Today, for episode number 1695, 2 reasons why your financial situation isn't changing. So, last Thursday, we had a meetup, and we talked about how to level up your finances. And it was good. It was really good. We got really good feedback from everybody in the room. Amy gave us really great feedback after, Amy on the team. And Alan and I felt really, really good about the entire thing. Well, tons of engagement, great stories, great lessons, great examples. But one of the things that really stood out at the end was people were asking, what books do you suggest for somebody who's new to reading books about finances? And that's something that you brought up before. You said, I mean this kindly. I don't mean this from a negative standpoint, but how many of us in here have actually read books on finances? And how many have we read? And it was more of a, what's the word I'm looking for? When you don't... Rhetorical question. Very nice.
Nice. Usually I miss when
That's from the word rhetoric, I believe. Did you know that?
Strong work.
Yeah.
Usually I miss when you are looking for a word.
Well, it's understandable because I have no idea how to lead you to the word I'm trying to find because I can't think of anything about it.
Lately I've been successful.
Yeah.
Post meetup, you, Amy, and myself do a little experience review, and you couldn't think of a word then as well, and I thought of the right word. So I'm doing well. I think I'm 3 times coming off of like 4 L's in a row.
Well, I'm sure I'll probably drop the ball again, and you'll have another chance.
I'm hoping.
To win our W. So Alan said rhetorically. Nice. From rhetoric, that's where it comes from. Probably Greek, if I had to guess, maybe. I don't know. Language of origin, I'm not really sure about it. Rhetorical question. How many of us have read books on finances, and how many have we read? Because why are we expecting to be really, really good at something if we haven't studied it before? It's understandable why a lot of us aren't great with finances because most of us weren't taught anything about it. It's understandable why relationships can be really, really hard because a lot of us were never taught anything about them. And if we were taught about them, they were from people who didn't know what the heck they were talking about in the first place. Maybe you struggle with fitness because you've never really learned about it. And there's so much information out there that you don't really know what to sift through and what to actually practice. So upon reviewing our meetup, we said, I think that would make for a really good episode if we sat down and talked about why are the 2 reasons that the financial situations aren't changing. One is maybe you haven't studied it yet. Maybe this sounds super elementary. It sounds too simple. But I've met a lot of people. I've worked with business owners who have never read a book on business. I couldn't tell you how many podcasters I've worked with who have never read a book on podcasting or speaking.
That's why we got to get your book out. There aren't a lot of books.
That's true. There
aren't
true.
a lot of books on podcasting.
Or I could say people haven't listened to podcasts about podcasts, right? That's another example. They're not a ton, but there are some out there.
Well, if only there was a podcast about how to grow your podcast. Podcast Growth University is?
Yeah, that's one.
Nice.
It's my personal
What do you think
faith.
of it?
I think it's great.
Nice.
Yeah, I think it's great. I've got a couple 0-star reviews or 1-star reviews. I don't know who those people are.
Do you really?
Yeah, I just don't think they like me very much.
That hurts.
It does. It hurts me tremendously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Over at Conscious Couples Podcast, we got some big L reviews.
Yeah,
Not
it's
nice.
like, just put myself out there. You know what I mean? I'm just trying to put myself out there. You know, maybe I said something wrong. I don't know. Maybe there are clients in the past that don't like me. Who knows? So that's one point. One, we're not studying the thing that we want to learn more about. Understandable. I completely understand this because for most of my life, I would have negative experiences with something. And then in my mind, it was like, okay, it was just that person. It was just a situation. When I get more blank, that'll change. When I get more money, this problem will solve itself. When I get a new partner, this problem will solve itself. That never happened because that wasn't the problem in the first place. The problem was lack of knowledge. The problem was lack of principles. So that's one. One, we're not learning about the thing that we're struggling in. Understandable. Number two is we're learning so much about what we're struggling with that we don't put anything into practice. And we talked about this recently from a 30,000-foot view. But if you think about it, maybe you do listen to podcasts about finances or you read books about finances or whatever it may be, but then after that, you don't do the necessary thing to fix the situation. You can very easily listen to a podcast about relationships. We've talked many times about check-ins and questions and all that stuff. But if you don't do anything after you learn it, that knowledge is just potential. And it's great. It's great to have potential. But if you don't practice it, nothing's going to change. So from my perspective, Alan, and I'm curious to yours, obviously, those are, I think, the two simplest reasons why your financial situation / any situation you're struggling with isn't changing.
Well, on one end of the spectrum, it's too little. What's that song? Too little, too late.
It's just a little too late. Is that JoJo? Mm-hmm. It's just too little too... Yeah. JoJo, real quick. I believe born and raised in Massachusetts. Okay?
Really?
JoJo was on an episode of MTV Cribs when I believe she was like 14 years old. I'll have you know that MTV Cribs made her like rent some other house. Like that's not even her. MTV Cribs, that whole show was fake. Most of those houses were not even their houses.
Really?
And yeah, that whole thing was, look it up.
How depressing is that?
You remember Pimp My Ride? Remember that show?
Yeah.
Somebody would roll in, for anybody who hasn't seen it, somebody would roll in with like a 1992 Honda Civic that barely ran. And they said, you know what we're going to do? We got you. We're going to put a popcorn machine in your trunk, baby. And we're going to put a fish tank up front, and you're going to be good. What a dumb
and a PlayStation.
Show. You're in a PlayStation.
2 in the back.
Your car doesn't run, but you do have a fish tank, and now you have responsibilities.
Is that true about MTV Cribs?
Yeah, and most of the show. Yeah, most of that stuff was all...
Yeah, most TV is completely fabricated. As a matter of fact, most podcasts are too, everything. It's worse than we thought. It is what it is. NLU will always work very, very hard to be as transparent and truthful and honest and integrous as humanly possible. Integrous is, I think, a word that represents integrity. I'm not sure. I've been using it for years. Okay, so on one end, you have too little, which is why JoJo came up.
Yep.
You have too little, meaning you're not learning enough about finance, about money, about abundance versus scarcity, about what to do with it, how to earn more, what to do with your money, where to invest it. So too little on one end. The other end is too much. You're just learning, but not implementing, and you're overwhelmed. Not only that, but your brain is confused. I often tell my clients, I'll send them a training. I sent to book club recently, I sent 3 speeches. One is a James Clear speech. One is a Bob Proctor speech about money. And then one other one. I'm honestly forgetting which one. But I afterwards, I say, this is what I was referring to on book club. And I've watched these dozens of times. And I think people's reaction to that might be, number one, why are you watching the same thing over and over again? Mm. For me, I've been combing the internet for what I think is the most valuable content. And I have a playlist on my YouTube. You can go to my YouTube. This is Alan Lazaros YouTube, by the way, not Next Level University YouTube. And I have a playlist that's public. It's called Mindset Workout, I think. And it has all of my saved videos, motivational videos, TED Talks, commencement speeches, all the best content that I could find that I think is the most valuable, because when I'm behind the scenes, I need to learn, and I don't want to learn new stuff all the time. And so for me, I've been guilty of the too much, where you're reading every finance book and it just gets confusing and overwhelming and you don't implement it. But I've also been on the other end prior to 26 years old where I wasn't reading enough. And so figure out where you are in this episode. Are you learning too much and you're constantly listening but not acting? Or reading and not acting? Or are you just not, you've just never studied finance? And if you want to study finance or anything health, wealth, life, or love, by the way, we're actually creating a book list at NLU where we have recommended life, love, health, and wealth books coming.
We should really do that with our podcast episodes. We were for a while, and I think we stopped on YouTube. Maybe we'll get back.
Jerry Ann for a while had that list. Nicole is actually doing it still. She's putting it in life, love, health, and wealth. Most of them end up in life because you and I love talking about life.
It is fair. It is fair. This is one of the reasons why the I'll do it when doesn't really work. Because if you don't know how to do it now, you probably don't know how to do it then. And I don't mean that from a negative, you don't know what you're doing. Just it's the lottery thing. If somebody wins the lottery and they have no understanding of how to actually make that amount of money, they're most likely going to lose it because they don't understand the principles. It's just the principle of... Another great thought behind this is we've all heard the quote, the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. I think one of the reasons that the quote-unquote rich get richer is when you start to make money and you're more intentional about how you make money, then you know how to make more money with that money. Just like fitness is a good example. When you start to understand how many calories you need and what foods do what to you and the way you feel and all that, it's a lot easier to use food as a tool where you're in more control of it. So yeah, you might see someone eating a pizza and say, wait, there's no way that person can eat a pizza and lose weight. That's just not true. That person has been doing it for a long enough time where they know how many calories they need. So as you get more awareness in something, I think you get more opportunity. But it's very, very hard in the very beginning to get the awareness and then practice it because you usually don't see anything right off the bat, especially with money. If you're someone who you're barely scraping by, when you get to the end of the month, you barely have enough money to get by, a principle that you learn might not show itself for months and months and months and months. Mm-hmm. Or if you're investing money, you might not see anything for months and months and months and months. And that's why one of the reasons it's so hard. Yeah.
Most likely years. Actually.
I had a moment where I was reviewing one of our episodes and you were talking about how somebody went from $6,000 a month to, I think it was 24 or 25, 30 grand a month
30.
When they were working with you.
Mm-hmm.
And you said it was only over the course of a year, I think you said.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking to myself, I know that's not a long time, but I know if I heard that 6 years ago, I would have said, that's a long time. That took like a really, really, really long time.
Yeah, that's unthinkable growth. It's
very good.
You don't, I just want to break this down for everybody because you make a good point. How ignorant am I when I say things? That's like really fast. I gotta stop saying like so much. 6 to 30, that's a 5x. You 5x your money in a single year. That's insane.
Yeah, that's wild.
And that's per month, by the way. So it's not like you're going from 6 to 30 a year. That's per month. So yeah, no one 5x's their income in a single year. That's insanity.
It's very fast. It's very fast.
Imagine if you and I 5x'd our income this year. We would be a $10 million business.
But even if...
We'd be a $5 million business, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Even if 200 gazillion, trillion, bazillion.
Exactly.
Depending on what your level of understanding of money and growth is, you might hear that and say, well, that's not very much in that amount of time. Or you might say, oh my goodness, that's like amazing. I can't imagine that.
All based on your awareness.
It's all based on awareness.
NLU listener, what is happening? I just wanted to jump in here and let you know if you want to get to the next level faster, we have a free virtual monthly meetup at the first Thursday of every month, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. You can connect with like-minded people and become a bigger part of this amazing global community. The link to register will be in the show notes. Can you unpack why the old you would have thought that took a long time?
Because everybody else is telling me they can do that for me in a month. Why'd it take you a year, you son of a gun? I think it's just that. And again, I know we've been very outwardly expressive of our frustration when people lie and manipulate. And I'm not saying it's like an us against them thing. I'm not saying that. I've just seen so many people get taken advantage of. And I just don't want you to get taken advantage of. There's a reason we don't have a $10,000 course that's about how to make $10,000 this week. It's not real. That's just not real. So yeah, I think it's that. One of our clients at NLPS is, I don't know what her actual title is, but she's in the health space, and she got an award that essentially said she is the best in the world at what she does. And one of the things that she is super passionate about is being truthful with what it actually takes to achieve a certain level of results. And she's ultimately trying to help people raise their awareness to what's... Now it's harder than ever because it's not like you just have to get your awareness raised to what works. You have to get your awareness raised to all the BS that doesn't work, too.
Yeah.
There's not just one
That
book,
takes a lot longer.
unfortunately. But I think when you start, at least this is the best thing I can say. Anytime I've learned something and I tried to practice it pretty quickly and it felt good, I felt like, wow, I'm actually making progress on this. I feel like I'm really intentional with the way I'm doing this. That's a great place to start. And you get that little hit of, okay, I'm doing something in the direction of my goals. Awesome. Let me see how this progresses. We did the episode recently where we talked about awareness and then practice, awareness and then practice. This is very similar to that. It's the same principle. But if your financial situation isn't changing, is it because you're not practicing the knowledge that you have, or are you on the outer limits of the knowledge you have and it's just now it's time for new knowledge? We need to retool. We need to go back and retool. That's my takeaway from this episode. I'm not saying it's going to be that simple because there's a lot to learn, but if you do not have a result in a certain arena, my question would be, how often have you studied that arena? And if you haven't studied it, why do you expect to be successful there? Not from a negative talk down to you place, but I'm as guilty as anyone. When I was the brokest ever, that's when I started learning about money. But before that, I never did, and I never, ever, ever felt in control of my money. I never felt super in control of my relationships. Why did I feel good when it came to my body? Because I had been studying fitness for a long time. I was a personal trainer. I took the exams. I studied. I read textbooks. That's one of the reasons.
NASM?
NASM.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, NASM. I was terrified. I was going to fail that test. Terrified. I don't know if I crushed it. I passed it.
One of my clients just passed the California bar.
I messaged that person today. I was talking to that person today in my DMs.
I said to him, most people who pass the California bar, statistically, I think are most likely younger. He's in his 40s. He's got kids. I said, that is unbelievable. I said, arguably, you just passed the hardest test on planet Earth. How cool is that? It's one of the hardest in the world, in the entire world, yeah. It's huge. Anyways, but I also witnessed behind the scenes, I wasn't there with him, but I witnessed him studying 3 hours a day for months and months and months. 3 hours a day? See how easy it is to say that? Imagine sitting down and studying law for 3 hours a day.
Absolutely.
Seriously.
No.
3 hours straight. And that's after your full-time job, after kids and family, after working out. He's a triathlete. Afterwards, he said, I honestly don't even know how I did it. Like that was insane. I said, yep, that was insane. And I knew you couldn't sustain it. And then he went off the rails for a little bit afterwards. And I said, we got to rein you back in. Because that was too much. Understandable. We all have chapters with too much. But then we go to too little. So you got to try to find 5. Last thing, Kev, financially. So this is about, you're either learning finance too little or learning finance too much. I think that applies to pretty much everything. For you, I will never forget the day that you came into our studio at the time, which was my sister's old bedroom. And you kind of sat me down, for lack of better phrasing, in front of the whiteboard. We had this little kind of crappy whiteboard back then.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, dude, I don't have any money. How do I make money? Can you explain why it took you so long to get to that place? Because right after that, you started making money. You started coaching. You started making $50 a week. Then it was 75. Again, it starts small, but you started making money. And that's a big deal. As a new coach, making money coaching is a big deal. That's a big milestone.
Yeah. I went from $0 to $50 a week. That was
$50 an hour, technically,
Yeah,
which is, again, 1 hour a week, but to start.
Why didn't it happen sooner? I didn't know how to do it. Somebody asked me the other day, they said, well, if you could sell me on why self-awareness is so important, what would you say? And I said, I want you to imagine that you're taking a trip across the country. You get in your car and you get an hour and a half away from your house and then your car breaks down. And you have no idea how to fix it. You don't know what's under the hood. You don't know why it's smoking. You have no idea how to fix it. How confident are you that you're going to get to your destination? And the host said 0. And I said, that's self-awareness. The reason you don't know if you're going to make it to the destination is because you're not aware of the vehicle. You don't know how to fix it. Why do we bring our cars to mechanics? Because we don't have the awareness to fix it. The car in this metaphor
is self?
The car in this metaphor is self. You are the car. So it's the same thing when it comes to making money, saving money, health, wealth, life, love, all of that. It's usually a gap in awareness. I had no idea. I didn't know where to start. I was very aware of the problem. I don't have any money. I had no idea what the solution was. 0 idea because I hadn't studied it yet.
Why did it take you so long to ask? Because I think that's the part people struggle with, is the courage to be
I thought it was going to change. I thought time would change it. For some reason, I just assumed, well, it's too soon. It's not time yet. It'll happen. It'll happen eventually. I think I was naive to a degree. I also came off of making 6 figures, and I assumed I knew how I did that more than I did because I didn't really know what I was doing. So I think it was just lack of awareness, and then maybe the pain got great enough. That's the hard thing, though, is if it takes us getting to the stage where the pain is great enough for us to do something different, the problem is you're not going to see any results for several months after, or years, or however long until after you get the pain, get the new awareness, and then eventually you get results. So I would say do it as soon as you can.
You ever hear you and I used to talk about this on the Hyperconscious podcast all the time. When the pain of not taking action is greater than the pain of taking action, you'll do it. I always used to use a haircut as an analogy. When your hair is long enough and it looks terrible, you get a haircut. Why didn't you do it before that? Because the pain wasn't great enough for the money and the time and the driving there and all that. So you kind of have to get leverage on yourself. And I was talking to Kev about this earlier. How do we stay productively paranoid in the short term, so that we give ourselves the pain on the day-to-day so that we don't get a whopping amount of pain at the end? Instead of having that massively painful moment on the beach when you take your shirt off or you get in a bathing suit, take a little bit of pain each day to exercise. And again, that's the analogy for everything. So finance books are boring. I think it's empowering to say that. Finance books are boring. They're always going to be boring. It's okay. Do it anyway. I think I'd rather tell you the truth. I've read dozens of finance books at this point. None of them were enjoyable. Genuinely. I think they all kind of suck. But they're worth it. And most of the things in life that actually help you achieve your goals and dreams kind of suck. And I think that that's very empowering to own that, because if you go into these books thinking they're going to be fun, you're going to shut them off in 10 minutes, assuming it's an audiobook, or you're going to put them down in 10 minutes of reading an actual chapter. I'm shocked at how well The Psychology of Money is doing in book club, because I thought that book was going to be crickets. I love that book, but I say that with a grain of salt because it's boring. I listened to it today. I didn't really want to be honest. I didn't really want to. I just knew that I'd regret it if I didn't. Why? Because it would be Friday night and I'd have to prep for book club. So here it is on Monday, and I'm like, you know what? Just do it, Alan. Just put it on.
Aren't all books boring?
Yeah,
really?
kind
Aren't
of.
Most self-improvement books just kind of boring?
Yes, of course they are. Everything's going to be more boring than Game of Thrones or whatever. Insert.
Breaking Bad.
Yeah, whatever it is for you. Yeah.
Greatest show of all time, Breaking Bad.
I could not disagree. I disagree.
That's a hill I'm willing to die on, son. No dragons, no people riding around on dragons and shit. It's real. Just a meth dealing science teacher. Who doesn't want to watch a show about that? Do you know what I mean?
There's a lot of good shows out there, man. I wouldn't die on the hill of Breaking Bad.
Anybody listening. No, this is a dangerous game because I'll probably get outvoted here, but Breaking Bad is better. I think it is. That is one of those shows that changed me. When I got to the end of that, I was like, I am changed because of the performance of Bryan Cranston. I'm talking about a great actor. Oh my goodness. I digress.
I'm glad the meth dealing science teacher had such a big impact on you.
Huge.
Huge. But seriously, as we jump here, I do believe that most of the things that are best for you are boring. But if you do them and you discipline yourself to do them, your life will be better. And I just don't believe in this fluffy fairy tale land where you're going to wake up and want to read. I studied math and chemistry yesterday, and I fell asleep right in the middle of the chemistry book. But at the end of the day, I understand the scientific method. I use mathematics every day in business. Half the business owners that I coach, my youngest is 18, my oldest is 63, 23 people on my roster. Most of the time, I'm just teaching them fundamental mathematic concepts. You're already great at what you do. You just don't know how to grow and scale a business online. So let me help you with that, and I keep you on the rails on what that takes. If you don't track finances daily, as a business owner, you are in trouble. And that's the facts. And so we keep it real at NLU and
keep it real.
Yeah, I think it's empowering to say these books are boring, and that's okay. I'm going to do it anyway.
And Breaking Bad is the best show of all time. Real quick.
I disagree. We can agree to disagree.
No, I said my thing last, so I win. Real quick, top two books for finances.
Okay.
Now, quick. I mean, when I say quick, I mean quick.
Real quick.
Real quick.
The first one is going to be The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. Morganhousel. Morgan Housel. Okay. And we're reading it in book club. So the registration link for book club will be in the show notes. Please register. I just had one of my RTC clients register yesterday, which I'm pumped about. And then the second one is it's just the most boring book ever, but it's so good.
Brian Tracy coming?
My man Brian. Brian knew the fundamentals, man. I'm telling you.
He is still with us.
Is he?
Yeah, Brian Tracy's still walking the
earth. I think he's 90 now.
He is he's up there.
He just crossed 90. Good for him. The Science of Money. I sent it to book club earlier. Hold on. I know you said quick. Hold on.
I expected
That's what you get for asking the question.
I know.
Hold on.
I figured it would be valuable, you know?
It is.
What do? You write in the book or what? What are we doing here?
Almost there, I promise.
I don't believe you at all.
Here we go. Here it is. The Science of Money, How to Increase Your Income and Become Wealthy. Brian Tracy.
Okay.
Very boring. Very, very, very strong. It's all principle-based. These are strong principles. And it's no fluff. It's good stuff.
All right. Strong work. All right. Next Level Nation. If you want to dive deeper into money, as Alan mentioned, book club. We're talking about money. I'm not there. Alan is there. Every Saturday, 12:30 Eastern Standard Time for an hour. You do not have to have read the book. You can just join for the conversation if you want. You don't even have to participate. You can be on with your camera off and your mic off if you want. Maybe a good opportunity to dip your toe deeper into NLU. And if you are looking for a group of like-minded humans who are into self-improvement, growth, and next levelness, we'll have our link to our private Facebook group, Next Level Nation, in the show notes below. Tomorrow, for episode number 1696, this is something that I never knew existed. The fear of success versus the fear of failure. I assumed that everybody was afraid of failure because I thought everybody wanted to do this for their own version of success, and I think everybody does. But sometimes we self-sabotage our success in ways that we don't realize because we're actually afraid of it deep down. So we're going to talk about that tomorrow. As always, we love you. We appreciate you. Grateful for each and every one of you. And at NLU, we do not have fans. We have family. We will talk to you all tomorrow.
Keep on those positive money habits. Next Level Nation.